Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much for having me. Linda, thank you. Linda Buckmaster reached out to AMAC. She's an AMAC member, told us that she was putting on this wonderful event, asked if we could come and support it, and we're happy, very happy to be here. My name is Andy Mangione, and I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I've got a wife and two boys, age 9 and age 11. And I want to talk to you a little bit about AMAC. But before we get to that, Ken mentioned Obamacare, and I just want to share my experience with Obamacare very quickly. In August of this past year, I came home from work, and there was an envelope from my insurance company that said, "Open immediately, important information enclosed." Never good news when you get an envelope like that. So I opened it up, and I saw that I was buying my insurance individually for my family, and I saw that my insurance premium tripled as a result of the Affordable Care Act. I called my boss and let him know that this was happening to my family personally. We talked to a gentleman who took my letter that I received right from my carrier and sent it to Fox News. The next day I get a call from Jim Angle, and he's calling me Andy. "Hi, Andy, this is Jim Angle." And I'm on the other line going, "Who is this?" And it was Jim Angle. He flies out to where I live in Louisville. He spent 2 hours with my family, and he produced a story on our experience with Obamacare. It was aired in September, and I now know what it means to go viral. That story was on the Drudge Report for 3 days. Drudge gets 60 million hits per month. And we were getting phone calls from people I never heard of. The story itself took on a life of its own. It was video or audio from the story itself was broadcast on radio stations across the country. It was our story. Liberals were tearing me apart because I, for some reason, was a bad guy because I got the letter that, I got a letter from my insurance carrier telling me that the Affordable Care Act was going to triple my premium, and somehow that was my fault. But our experience with Obamacare has not been good. And I echo other people's experiences with Obamacare across the country. But I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know a little bit about me before I let you know a little bit about AMAC. AMAC is known as the Association of Mature American Citizens, and it was founded by Dan Weber. Dan Weber was born in Brooklyn, New York, and after high school, he entered the Air Force. He served honorably for 4 years. He was discharged with a wife and 2 kids. So he picked up a bag and he went to work. He went to work for Allstate selling insurance and financial services. He had a very successful 10-year career at Allstate. Then he decided, after he had a few more babies, to take a risk and become an entrepreneur. He launched his own insurance agency on Long Island in New York, and he worked that agency for 30 years. And he told me, "Andy, it's very easy to be successful in America. All you have to do is work half a day, 6 days a week." Well, that half a day is 12 hours, and 6 days a week, which is exactly what he did. He built a very successful insurance agency on Long Island, and then he retired. His children now run the agency. He moved to Florida, like everybody from New York does. He retired and he wanted to play golf. And as a retiree, he joined AARP. One day, he was watching the news during the Iraq War, and he saw Hugo Chavez welcome Harry Belafonte to Venezuela. And he saw both of them call George W. Bush and America the biggest terrorists on the face of the planet. Then he saw Harry Belafonte return to the United States and AARP give him the Humanitarian of the Year award. Mr. Weber took a step back, scratched his head, and said, "I don't think this organization necessarily represents my views." So he began to look around for an alternative, and he couldn't find one. He could not find a viable alternative, so he decided to start his own. His business associates told him that he was crazy. There was no way he could take on AARP. They had an iconic brand and had been around for decades. His family, on the other hand, supported his decision. And with his own retirement funds, Dan Weber started up AMAC in 2007. He wanted to build an organization that would have one-of-a-kind member benefits coupled with conservative values. Values that include an awesome respect for the Constitution of the United States of America. Values that include support for free enterprise and free market solutions for the problems that are facing America. Values that include your right to religious freedom. Values that include a strong support for the Second Amendment. And he wanted to build an organization for people who felt they were betrayed by AARP. Members trickled in slowly at first. When I became acquainted with AMAC in 2008, they barely had 5,000 members, and most of those memberships were given away. However, AMAC experienced significant growth in 2012 and throughout 2013. For example, after the federal election in 2012, AMAC experienced a milestone, our 500,000th member. Just 11 short months later, in October of 2013, AMAC hit 1 million members. And we surpassed 1.1 million members in January 2014. Thank you. Here's the beauty part. Guess which state has the largest amount of AMAC members? I'll give you a hint. It's not Massachusetts. It's Texas. Over 100,000 of your fellow Texans are AMAC members. And I thank you. And when Linda asked me to come here and speak and talk to you about AMAC and support this wonderful event, how could I say no? So I pulled out my boots. I love wearing my boots. I can wear them around here and people don't look at me like I'm crazy. But not that you're crazy when you're wearing boots. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. And a lot of people don't walk around wearing boots there. But I love wearing my boots and I love being in this great state. I love the state of Texas and I'm so happy to be here. Our increase in members has coincided with an increased presence on Capitol Hill. I act as AMAC's representative for our members in Washington, D.C. In 2013, AMAC representation had 140 Capitol Hill meetings with legislators in 2013, and nearly 40 so far this year. Rest assured, AMAC members' voices are being heard. Since 2013, AMAC has been solicited by Congress for support on dozens of bills. If the legislation fits with our mission of faith, family, and freedom, we're happy to support it. We recently had a significant victory in Washington. A lot of bad news been coming out there lately. However, AMAC joined with other stakeholders in voicing our opposition on behalf of our members to the proposed changes to the prescription drug plan, also known as Medicare Part D. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services wanted to overregulate Medicare Part D and remove the competitive edge of this public-private partnership. Market forces would have been removed, and Medicare beneficiaries' prescription drug costs would have vastly increased. AMAC, among other stakeholders, worked closely with legislators to ensure that our members' voice was being heard on these proposed changes. And just this past week, the administration has withdrawn their proposal to change Medicare Part D. We sent a message to the administration that if they continue to advance policies that hurt mature Americans, we will be there to fight these policies every step of the way on behalf of our members. AMAC is an issues-oriented, member-driven organization. And what I mean by that is that our members set our advocacy agenda. We don't sit in a conference room determining what issues we will support or what issues we won't support. Our members determine the issues that we bring to Washington, D.C., and they tell us that the solvency of Social Security and Obamacare's impact on their health care are the top two issues that concern them. So we came up with a market-based solution for Social Security that we call the Social Security Guarantee. You could read about this on our website at amac.us. But in short, the reform plan makes Social Security solvent for 75 years without raising taxes. It incorporates a free market savings mechanism that allows people to retire early with more than enough money for their retirement. We've been presenting this plan for the last year and a half on Capitol Hill, and it has been favorably received by members of Congress, senators, think tanks like the Heritage Foundation and American Enterprise Institute, big labor, small businesses, and other private entities. Also, AMAC members voted on the components of this plan, and they had a say in the final document. Our Social Security guarantee truly emanated from our membership. This is the kind of voice you can expect to experience when you join AMAC. In January of this year, Health and Human Services chose to make a devastating Medicare cut. All the cuts to Medicare with regard to Obamacare are devastating, but this particular cut is particularly offensive. They cut Medicare home health care services by 14%, or $22 billion approximately over the next 4 years. Now, the average Medicare home health care services recipient is 84 years old. 2/3 of the recipients live below the federal poverty level. They reside in rural areas. They have chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and most are minorities and women. This cut will mean that they will have to seek care in an institutional setting and not in the comfort of their own home. Their access to this vital health care will be diminished. Now, the flip side to this devastating cut is how it affects small businesses. 90% of the providers of Medicare home health care services are small businesses. And according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, 40% of these businesses will be operating at a loss. That means they're insolvent by the year 2017. That means that 5,000 companies and 500,000 jobs could be wiped out in 4 years in order to pay for Obamacare. The money for these cuts will be used to expand Medicaid and fund insurance subsidies on the healthcare exchanges. Now, when we learned about these cuts in December of last year, we asked our membership if we should work to have these cuts rescinded. We polled our members. 97% of respondents in this poll told us to go after the administration regarding these offensive Medicare cuts. Our founder, Dan Weber, has been on Fox News or Fox Business News 3 times over the past 2 weeks talking about these cuts and what they mean to seniors and small businesses. He's relating your outrage over these cuts on a national platform. AMAC instituted the delegate program in February of last year. The program is designed to place an AMAC volunteer acting as a delegate in every congressional district across the United States. Currently, we have nearly 200 congressional districts covered, and the delegate's responsibility is to put a local face on AMAC, walk in as a constituent first and an AMAC member second. They set meetings with their congressional representative locally to introduce the office to AMAC and articulate the issues that matter to our members. The delegate program is AMAC's grassroots national outreach program. In fact, there's an AMAC delegate here at the rally today working our booth. He's right there. He's been a member for 4 years, and he'd be happy to relate his experience as an AMAC member. I love the premise of today's rally, unity. I had the opportunity to attend CPAC last week and hear Dr. Ben Carson speak. Dr. Carson had a similar message of unity, and I want to share it with you today. He spoke of putting the country before any personal problem with a specific political candidate or getting wrapped under the axle over whether somebody's ideology was pure enough for you. He stressed that even if your candidate doesn't win in the primary, vote for the one that beat him, because the mission here is to return the country to the people and wrestle it away from liberals and their ludicrous policies like Obamacare. He told us to stand up to liberals and their politically correct henchmen. Speak for the values that you believe in and know that they are shared by the majority of Americans. Don't feel like you can't do anything regarding the direction of the country. If you join AMAC, you'll be joining over 1.1 million other patriots who share the same values that you do, values that are preached from every pulpit on Sunday mornings across America. You do have power. You do have a voice. You are not alone. Dr. Carson made an excellent reference to the national anthem as he closed his speech at CPAC, and I'd like to share it with you today. When you're singing the part of the national anthem that refers to the land of the free and the home of the brave, remember this: you cannot be free if you are not brave. Thank you very much. God bless Texas, and God bless the United States of America.